Joey Logano shares his thoughts on that late race Chase Briscoe-Tyler Reddick contact. Apparently this is the week everyone's revealing their Darlington throwback paint schemes, and it looks like racing on Easter is here to stay, even if it's not always at Bristol dirt. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Lots of news, lots to react to, but before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by LubeGuard, makers of the original Instant Torque Converter Shutter Eliminator, LubeGuard Instant Shutter Fix. It's simple to use. It starts working immediately to eliminate torque converter, shutter, chatter, and hard shifting. It works with all conventional and synthetic automatic transmission fluids, and you can find it pretty much anywhere. Advance, AutoZone, Napa, O'Reilly, Pep Boys, or online at Amazon.com. Visit Shutterman.com, link is down in the description, to learn more, and visit LubeGuard.com for more information about all of their great products. Great to have LubeGuard on the show. Now, I know I said a couple days ago that we were done talking about Bristol dirt for this year. Well, spoiler alert, I lied. This first topic's not necessarily Bristol dirt related, but it is Bristol dirt adjacent. I read an interesting article in the Associated Press this morning by Jenna Fryer talking about how pleased Fox was with the numbers that this Bristol dirt weekend brought in. We talked about earlier this week, but over 4 million viewers tuned in on average to the Cup race Sunday night. I didn't mention this before, but the truck race Saturday night was actually the most viewed truck race at Bristol ever. Over 1.1 million viewers tuned in Saturday night. So Bristol dirt from a rating perspective seems to be a rousing success, which is why earlier this week, in fact right after I uploaded my video on Tuesday, Bristol came out, SMI came out and said that there will be a Bristol dirt race in 2023, a night race. They didn't specify what day, what weekend. Will it land on Easter once again? That remains to be seen. But in this AP article, Bill Wanger, who's a Fox Sports VP, head of scheduling and programming, gave some additional insight saying, I like having the dirt race. I think it's a different format, and obviously the numbers spike when it's on dirt. Also, the younger demos on Easter with the dirt, we like the dirt. We talk about ratings, but we also talk about the more important age 18 to 49 demographic, the demographic that Formula One has been catching NASCAR quickly in the United States. According to Fox Sports, the Bristol dirt race drew in the second most viewers all season in that category, behind only the Daytona 500. So more 18 to 49-year-olds tuned into Bristol dirt than turned into Circuit of the Americas, or Phoenix, or Las Vegas, or Richmond. Races that were all also on main Fox. Honestly, as more and more of these numbers come out, I think it's harder and harder to argue against having a dirt race on the Cup Series schedule. And honestly, it's harder to argue against having it at Bristol. Like, I keep saying that I'd rather see them run it like Eldora, or maybe even consider putting dirt on a different track. I love Bristol so much, but I don't know, maybe you can't argue with results. There are a lot of things in play here. Racing on Easter, of course, might have been largely responsible for the viewership boost, but I think dirt certainly piqued the interest of fans that otherwise weren't going to be very interested in a NASCAR race. Now, on that note of racing on Easter, Bill Wanger in that AP article said that Fox is very interested in racing on Easter Sunday going forward. I heard some NASCAR executives say that they're looking into adding a second off week next year, which I know many of the teams would greatly appreciate, but it sounds like Easter may not be that off weekend. I think Easter racing could be here to stay. Now, will that be a Bristol dirt race next year on Easter? That remains to be seen. In fact, Bill Wanger even said that not necessarily every year will they race Bristol dirt on Easter. It depends on where Easter lands on the calendar. Sometimes Easter is in like March when it may be too cold to race in Bristol, Tennessee. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that story here first and foremost. Easter racing, it sounds like, is here to stay. Fox really likes the numbers that they saw, and it sounds like they also liked what dirt did for that 18 to 49 demographic. All good things. NASCAR needs to appeal to young viewers. If the occasional dirt race is the way to do it, if that proves to be successful, go for it. Even if it's Bristol. At this point, it's hard for me to argue against it. Now, one more Bristol dirt related topic. You've heard my thoughts already on the last lap contact between Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick and how the two settled things afterwards. I was surprised and a little bit disappointed that Reddick let it go so easily and was smiling and shaking hands with the guy who wrecked him out of his first win just seconds after it happened. I was also disappointed that Reddick came over the radio after the finish and said that he would have done the same thing, because I don't want to see guys wrecking each other for the win. That shouldn't be tolerated in the top levels of stock car racing. If he had wrecked Chase Briscoe for the win, I would have criticized him too. I do respect Chase Briscoe for coming over immediately and approaching Reddick and apologizing. That's obviously very classy, and it was classy all around that they didn't start throwing hands or getting in each other's face and saying they're gonna rip people's head off, that kind of thing. But I'm not thrilled that wrecking someone for the win is now tolerated by some of the top young drivers in the sport. I don't think that's a good thing going forward. Anyway, Joey Logano, who's an aggressive race car driver, has been himself responsible for some very dramatic and controversial finishes in his time. He chimed in during his show on SiriusXM NASCAR radio and shared his opinion on the whole Reddick and Briscoe situation. Here are some clips.
If I'm Tyler Reddick, I'm probably understand that it was an accident and it wasn't intentional, but I'm still really angry about that. You're going to come in and move me up out of the way. Am I going to be mad? Yeah, but I'm going to be okay with it because I'm willing to do the same thing. I'm not really willing to wreck somebody for a win. I'm willing to move somebody for a win. Chase walked up to him immediately. He walked up with everybody there and apologized. I thought that was the stand-up thing to do, the right thing to do. Now, I don't know about laughing about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'd be laughing and joking and shaking hands at that point. I think I'd be a little bit more angry. You know, like, if it's me and that happens, you got one coming, bud. Like that's what I would say.
So I agree with almost everything Logano said right there. Like, I agree. It was an accident. Briscoe wasn't trying to wreck Reddick. He was just willing to make a move that had like a 90% chance of wrecking Reddick. He has to take responsibility for that, which he did. And I also agree with Logano. Like I said, it was very classy of Briscoe to go up and immediately apologize to Reddick after the race. But I also agree that Briscoe and Reddick seemed a little too happy about the whole deal. Like, it almost looked like a teammate coming to victory lane to congratulate another teammate for winning, except both these drivers lost in this case. So it just didn't seem quite right to me watching in the moment. And then I also agree with Logano's final point that, yeah, Briscoe probably has one coming. If Reddick wants to, drive in a little deep at some point this year and spin Briscoe out late in a race, I won't really complain. And Briscoe shouldn't either, and I don't think he would. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. I think he would understand the bigger picture. He'd have the self-awareness to accept that, okay, I probably did have that one coming. I made a bad mistake at Bristol.
Right, you think about it. You're about to win your first race. It's going to put you into playoffs. The impact that makes for your team, the impact it makes on the checkbook, you just got robbed, dude. Like, you had it in the bank and got wiped out.
So Logano sums up nicely how I felt after Sunday night's race. Glad the two drivers didn't break down into a big fight, a big pile up there on pit road, but I didn't love how quickly they seemed to let it go. Winning these races, as Joey Logano just said, are a huge deal, not just for you personally as a driver, but for your entire race team, not just the significance of making the playoffs and getting a bunch of points, but the money involved for not just you as a driver, but your team, the exposure for your sponsors, the historical significance of winning your first career race. There's way too much on the line to be that chill with getting wrecked for a win. Young drivers these days seem to be okay with doing whatever it takes to win, even if, in this case, it's a move that had almost 0% chance of working and was completely reckless, which, not just my words, Dale Jarrett said the same thing. Anyway, we'll move on from the Bristol Dirt Finish. It was great TV. It was very exciting. I think it gets people talking. Another thing that's getting people talking this week are all of these throwback paint schemes. The Darlington throwback race is still a couple weeks away, but I guess this week, everyone and their sponsors decided to roll out their throwback scheme. We'll do a whole throwback video, the week of the Goodyear 400, but for now, a couple throwback schemes that caught my attention in the last couple of days. Harrison Burton's running a throwback to his father, Jeff Burton. Fairly predictable, but this recreation looks great. A throwback to the old Roush days of Jeff Burton. The X-Side car, the Lightning Bolt is back. Honestly, I hope Harrison Burton doesn't run a Jeff Burton throwback every year for the rest of his career. Like we saw this last year in the Xfinity Series, he ran a Jeff Burton throwback. But when the paint scheme is as memorable as this one and when the recreation is as accurate, it's easy to look past that. So this looks great. This throwback caught my eye. Corey LaJoie is running a Marty Robbins throwback. And yes, look closely. They're sort of kind of bringing back triple-digit numbers. I don't know how this is allowed, but we can't move the door numbers back to the center for one weekend, for the throwback weekend. Like, I make it make sense, but this looks cool. Obviously, the colors are great, memorable, iconic, accurate. The triple-digit numbers, I know it's not exactly true to the original, but the sentiment is there. It's cool. It's different. I respect the commitment to the throwback. And then one more that caught my attention, Chase Elliott, Napa scheme, throwing it back to Jimmy Means and his 1993 Napa colors. I just point this one out because it's surprisingly accurate, even with the door number slid forward. Like, honestly, it looks really good with the door number slid forward. This could almost be his normal Napa scheme. I'll be curious if the 9 on the side turns out to be a reflective chrome. I imagine it will be, but this one also looks really good. I just wanted to point this one out. We'll talk about all the other throwbacks. Believe me, there have been many more revealed. There's more being revealed as I'm recording this right now. But we'll talk talk about all those the week of the Goodyear 400, the Darlington Throwback race. I'm looking forward to that one. It'll be my first ever throwback race I'll attend in person. Very excited about that. One final story, one final topic I want to talk about on today's episode. Adam Stern tweeted yesterday, NASCAR execs are having a lot of aggressive discussion about where to take the stadium concept to globally, per NASCAR International exec Chad Siegler. And Adam Stern mentions it there. This was talked about this past weekend at Bristol Dirt during the Pinty's Canada press conference. So real quick, the conversation of taking NASCAR International, I think, is continuing to pick up. Executives have said in recent months that, they want to go to Canada. They think they'd like to bring the Cup Series there at some point. Mexico City is certainly on the table. I think a lot of work is being done in this space, and I fully believe that we should start in North America, Canada and Mexico. But I'm not going to rule out the possibility of racing overseas, especially in Europe, where, as we've talked about, they have many large soccer stadiums, larger probably than the LA Coliseum. And if we could race inside of the Coliseum, I think we could race at many places in Europe. So I'm glad NASCAR is continuing to explore this possibility. I think any sort of stadium race for the foreseeable future, at least, would likely be an exhibition race. I doubt we'll run a points race in London in the next 2 or 3 years. Never say never, I suppose. We did just run a Bristol Dirt race for points. And we know NASCAR has been exploring a street race in recent months. So I'm glad NASCAR is exploring this. Should this be a top priority at the moment? I mean, no, but NASCAR has teams that are dedicated to certain things, certain elements, and their international team, I'm glad they're making this a priority, of course. Because bringing NASCAR to the world stage, to a major market, now that the stadium concept has worked, that opens up a lot of doors, as we've talked about. And while obviously the focus should be on making the product better here in the United States and growing the sport in North America, other countries love racing too. Some countries love racing even more than America loves racing. So NASCAR exploring other opportunities, I'm fine with. In fact, I fully support it. I love that this current crop of NASCAR leadership, many of them are willing to take bold risks. They have big ideas, and the few that we've seen now have worked pretty well. I mean, the LA Coliseum race was a success. Bristol Dirt, we've seen improvement one year to the next despite weather delays with both races. NASCAR's ability to stay relevant during the early days of the pandemic through iRacing was remarkable. Current leadership does deserve some credit for these bold but often successful ideas. So I'm glad they're exploring this possibility, and I think it's awesome that the success of the Coliseum race is allowing NASCAR to maybe take some of these chances. But again, I don't think it's something that should be at the very, very top of all of NASCAR's list. There are plenty of other things like, fixing Martinsville for one that should be higher. Not the track, fixing the cars probably to make Martinsville. But anyway, still pretty cool to see. It speaks to how versatile these cars are, like I've been saying. That's going to do it for this episode, y'all. That's all I've got. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. We covered a wide variety of topics today. Let me know what you guys think. As always, a big thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters. I couldn't do the show without your tremendous support. I greatly appreciate you guys sticking with me. Talladega this weekend. Anticipation is picking up. If you missed it last night, we did our weekly live stream. It was on my channel this week. It was a really good time. We covered a wide variety of trending NASCAR topics, had a lot of fun in the process. I appreciate those of you who tuned in live and supported the show. I will see you all again very, very soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day.